Let's get the perspective of Moscow now on the programme. Reporter Jake Cordell is there. And Jake, let's talk about the economy first, if we can, because Western sanctions do appear to be biting today. The ruble fell sharply at the start of trading this morning. The central bank announcing it's raising interest rates to 20%. Give us a sense of how ordinary Russians are reacting to all of this. Are there long queues, for example, outside the banks?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing Russians queuing up to take out their savings, either fearful that the Russian banking system won't be able to cope with the mass of people withdrawing their savings in some kind of bank run. Now, the central bank has said it's offering unlimited cash to banks to make sure that they can withdraw it, but that's just unlimited rubles, definitely not unlimited dollars and euros, with lots of Russians looking to switch their money into hard currency. We're already seeing prices rising in the shops as a result of this latest fall in the ruble, and shops have reported they've sold out of expensive electronic equipment, for instance, as people over the weekend just rushed to buy up whatever they could. They didn't want to be left with any rubles, knowing that their value would fall. Over the medium term, this is obviously going to lead to much higher inflation, and this is going to feed into hit Russians in the pocket. And what that means for the political situation is unclear here in Russia. We're already 8 years into an economic crisis. Russians were already poorer than they were 10 years ago before this happened. And this, if anything, if any rounds of previous sanctions are what to go by, it's clear that the Russian people are probably going to feel quite a big brunt of those sanctions.
Yeah, and despite the economic hit, Jake, we've seen in the past few days images of Russians going out in the streets to protest this war in Ukraine. I wonder if there's any way to establish whether or not those people that we've seen out in the streets represent a minority of Russians, or whether there are actually plenty of people who are really skeptical of Vladimir Putin's war.
It's very hard to tell how widespread these protest movements are. What we can say is there is a much more dissatisfaction now than there has been towards any previous round of Moscow's foreign policy, including obviously the annexation of Crimea in 2014. Whether they're a majority, probably not at this stage. If we think about that 2/3 of Russians rely only on state TV to get their information and news, and we know on Russian state TV, if you look at the pictures, they're not showing anything like what we know is going on the ground. They're not showing shelling in Kharkiv. They're not showing shelling in Kiev. They're not showing residents in Kiev cowering in underground bunkers. So it's unclear how much Russians really know what the picture is on the ground. What is clear is that those liberal people in cities, educated people that have access to the internet, that use it for their news source, most of them are very against this war. They're very concerned by what they're seeing. Crucially, we're also seeing some key oligarchs coming out and criticizing, perhaps some softly, perhaps some in more stronger terms, criticizing what is going on. And that is not only a direct response to sanctions, but also what they're seeing going on the ground. So clearly, there is not agreement here in Russia with what's going on. How widespread the discontent is unclear at the moment.
And Jake, just finally, we heard those rather alarming reports yesterday that Vladimir Putin was to put Russia's nuclear forces on high alert. It's been about 24 hours since we heard that. Do we know yet what that means in practice?
Well, we had an update earlier today from the Defence Ministry basically saying, yes, we've put them on high alert. But again, we don't really know what the details of that are. And we've had some comments out from Britain this morning. Their Defence Ministry hasn't seen any change in Russia's nuclear posture, as they call it. So it's unclear what that means. Again, we have to look at this perhaps in the context of a military campaign that clearly hasn't gone as well as Vladimir Putin was hoping. They've clearly got bogged down much more than they were expecting, and ahead of the negotiations which took place today. Lots of people thinking this could be some kind of posturing from Putin. The problem is, of course, leading up to this war, people were convinced that he wouldn't go into Ukraine. So understanding what's going on in the mind of the Russian president right now is very tricky.
Appreciate your analysis on the programme, Jake Cordell, for us there in Moscow. Thank you.